Hello, and welcome to Coping with Donald. I'm Phil. It would help me if you would hit the like and subscribe buttons, leave a comment, whatever. I'm trying to get to 50 viewers. Got a long way to go. The subject of this Coping with Donald is that 2 days ago, on July 24th, Donald Trump signed an executive order that I think needs to be talked about, needs to be discussed. Not by me, by a lot more important people, people who have access to other people. But if anybody wants to be aware, this is a very serious Coping with Donald. Please stick with me on this. This is about his executive order of 2 days ago. Not to end homelessness, but to not see homelessness. What they call ending crime and disorder on America's streets. Okay, nobody wants to see people living in tents on the streets, sleeping on benches in the streets. Nobody wants that. But when you talk about homelessness, and let's face it, what about the people who live in their cars? Is that homelessness? You have to put the car somewhere. And if you're not renting the land or owning the land, basically you're poaching somebody else's space to park. There are people in cars. There are people in their parents' basements when they're 40 years old because of the cost of living. All right? So what is homelessness? The administration, in the beginning, and you know what? I agree with this somewhat. A lot of the people who are homeless, have mental disorders and drug issues. A lot of them probably start on drugs because of the mental disorders or because they're homeless and have nothing else. And they see life as hopeless. And I agree with that. A lot of people who are homeless don't really have what it takes to get over their drug addiction or their mental illnesses. You never get over a mental illness. You just cope with it. And I'm talking from experience. I suffer from depression. It's like an alcoholic. They don't say, I used to be an alcoholic. You're not allowed to say that. You say, I am an alcoholic. I just don't drink right now. Well, I'm a person who gets depressed a lot, but I take medicine, and right now I do pretty good with it. The way that this executive order is written, however, focuses very early on about mentally ill people and people on drugs. Not in a sympathetic way, almost in an accusatory way. That's bad right off, but then again, that's MAGA. That's Trump. Oh boy. The executive order says that people who are homeless need to be taken off the streets against their will and sent to mental health clinics or mental health facilities or drug rehab places. There aren't enough spots. There are not near enough spots. And this is an administration that is going to spend, 3 or 4 times the amount that they spend on low-income housing. They're going to spend on ICE detention centers, building them. Which makes you wonder, is that where they're going to send them? If they are going to be sent to ICE detention centers, it's not going to help them with their mental health. It's not going to help them with their drug addictions. I mean, they might cold turkey them off of drugs, which should lead to a really... I wouldn't want to be in a cell with people that are weaning off drugs. Would you? And it's not going to help them financially. And they're going to walk out there with no dollars, just like they went in there with no dollars. So how exactly are they supposed to rejoin the work world? And like most things that Donald Trump does, I don't think he's thought this out to stage 2 and 3 and 4. He's just saying, okay, let's get them off the streets. In fact, I believe he has even threatened states and localities withholding federal money should they leave these people on the streets. So again, I'm going to solve the problem, but I'm going to have you solve the problem based on my directive, and then I don't want to think about it anymore. A lot of these people are on the streets simply because of the economy. If half of the Americans don't have $400 to spend on an emergency, I would say half of Americans are this close to being on the street. When you take away Medicaid from people, when you take away food stamps from people, you get closer and closer to pushing people onto the street. The next economic calamity that we have, and some say we're in it already, you get closer and closer to pushing more people on the street. And your answer is we're going to scoop them up and hide them away. And knowing the way that Donald Trump has done things in the past and is presently doing, excuse me, with migrants, where their families don't know where they are, where their attorneys don't know where they are, wouldn't you expect him to do the same thing with these people? Are we going to have a mass disappearing in the United States? This is something that isn't happening right now, but now it's set up that it could, because there's also another provision in this same proclamation that if the Justice Department can't find mental health facilities that will take these people, I guess the government's going to pay for it, I don't know, or drug rehab centers that can take these people, that they still have a responsibility to get them out of public view. Somewhere. Anywhere. That's frightening. It's not that these projections of people disappearing don't have any basis, but it's, in fact, but it's also, well, actually they do. It's not that they don't, that they're just fears. They might be just fears. I hope they're just fears of mine. But look at Trump's track record with disappearing people, with showing cruelty, with not caring what happens to people at all. His economic policies are going to push more people into the position where they could get swept up and disappeared. So without a program to sweep people up and then try to get them jobs and get them on their feet, which there is none, I think we can project what our worst fears are about what happens to these people in the future. If you can provide a basement for someone to live in, please do it. You know, family member, friend, somebody you know. Hell, even if you can provide a car and they drive it into the woods, please do it. But we are attacking the least fortunate among us because we don't want to look at them. And to me, that in itself is actually also one of the most frightening things about this. That people are okay with this. Again, I don't like seeing homeless people. I don't like walking past tents. I saw a few years ago, we were in St. Augustine. And there were people that you could tell hadn't taken a bath or shower in many months. And you would just like walk by a bench and there's one of them right there. And they were scary. And their beards came down to their waist. And they were dirty. And they were desolate. And there was no thought of any sort of different life inside of these people. They had given up. Who knows if they had addiction to drugs, but something broke inside them that they had given up. Rather than fix them, are we going to disappear them? And that's what worries me about this. And that's what should worry everybody about this, because you know that the people in this administration, like Pam Bondi, those kind of people, Kristi Noem, have no qualms about treating people like insects that are bothering you, like mosquitoes. This has been Coping with Donald. I know it's been a very serious one. I'm going to try to follow up with one that's not so serious. Have a good day.